All right, looks like it's time. I hereby call this meeting to order. Hello and welcome to this meeting of the City of Ypsilanti Historic District Commission for September 9th, 2025. This meeting is being held in the hybrid format, is that right? We have folks online too. Where we have individuals participating in person as well as remotely via phone connection or Zoom web-based conferencing application. Public have the opportunity to provide comments during the public comment or audience participation sections of the meeting as identified on the agenda. To address the commission, remote participants will need to use the raise hand function to indicate they would like to speak. To raise your hand while participating via the Zoom meeting, click the raise hand icon at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Participants connected in via phone connection, press *9. After you raise your hand, you'll be informed when it is your turn to speak, and your microphone will be unmuted at that time. Your microphone will be muted again when you have expressed your comments or when your speaking time has expired. Let's call roll, see if we can continue. Alex Pettit, chair, that's me, I'm present. James Chestnut, not present this evening. Stefan Sonko, present. Hannah McCree is absent this evening. John Van Volt, present. Chuck Boltman, present. That is quorum. Yeah, we can continue. We have a draft agenda in the packet here. Let's see if we need to make any adjustments first. Carrie, are you aware of anything that needs to be different than the agenda than what's already presented here?
No.
Okay, great. Now turning to the public, is there anybody who would like to be added as a study item that's not already on the agenda as a study item? I would like to be added this evening, either in person or remote.
Yes, we would like to be added as a study item.
Okay, what address will you be presenting?
208 North Grove Street.
208 North Grove Street. Okay, thank you for that. We have that study item added. Looks like we've got an agenda ready to approve. If we get a motion for that.
I'll move to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous, motion carries. First up then, public comment on agenda items. So if there's anybody in attendance this evening who would like to speak on an agenda item other than one they're here to represent this evening, please make yourself known. Nothing there, okay, good. All right, then moving to business. First up, we have 410 Maple. Is there anybody present this evening representing 410 Maple? That would be me. Hello, welcome. Could you state your name for the record? Or
Sure.
Carrie, does he need to stand near, is that the best place?
I found that it actually does pick up.
Okay.
Time, so, as long as I speak clearly.
Then, yeah, you can stay where you are. And if you could just please again, I'm sorry, state your name.
Yeah, Michael Kozura.
Thank you.
So in regards to 410 Maple Street, it had already been approved for asphalt roof, but Gary Turner's been helping me out on the project, and we'd basically the roofing material. I'm a little bit out of it right now, so I'm going to ramble a little bit, but the roof, where the roof itself, the decking hit the fascia boards, there was no overhang on that. And he had said, while we were putting the membrane on, that it might be a better product to go, and better for the life and longevity of the building to go with a metal roof. Especially with the way the decking was applied originally. A lot of it had been rotted up. There was no tar paper initially put on it, which is a big no-no. So I just continued to deck it per the original, where the original decking had ended, which was right where the fascia board lies, instead of having an overhang. So with that, being able to do a metal roof would allow for a better, more robust drip edge, better longevity. And there's several examples. I think I have pictures in the file, but I also have some here for other examples of this Galvalume product that 308 Maple Street, detached garage. The house is not with Galvalume. 405 Maple Street, the whole of the garage and the whole of the house is Galvalume, or very similar product. I'm not exactly sure which one that is, but it looks just like the Galvalume. And then 217 River Street with the front porch being Galvalume, as well as the detached garage. So examples of whole house and garage, just garage, and part of a house in a garage. So I would really love it if we could get another amazing product in the historic district that would allow for super longevity, keeping the building in its historic glory for as long as we could possibly imagine. I'll leave that up to you guys. Any questions or any thoughts or?
Carrie, could you please give us maybe some select notes from the staff review that would be relevant here?
Yes, and I know it is a lengthy staff
Yeah.
review, so I'm going to paraphrase.
That's
When
great.
this application was first presented and approved by the commission approved just the steel garage door, and Ellen was able to administratively approve the rest of the application, which involved the work that the applicant is now proposing. It's still the same scope, but a change of materials. And a note that in our discussion, we talked about he's planning on removing the ridge vent that originally was part of that approval too. So that's just a small note of one change in the scope. But basically, he is proposing to change the approved shingles for a standing seam metal roof in the color Galvalume, which is, I mean, it's a acrylic finish. There are three other sites in the district that the applicant had brought to my attention. And so I did go to those sites and also looked at the records for past approvals and communications and minutes packets, seeing what the commission and staff had been looking at before in their approvals. And I'll just note that, so there seems to be a variety of factors here. One is that the garage at 217 North River is situated behind the house so that you can't see it. So it is out of view from the public right of way. Let's go. So the next one is 308 Maple, and that is the home that the actual house, the entire house and the garage were both approved for standing seam metal roof. However, a condition was that the roof would be red in color. And what was installed was actually not red. So I think that's an important note, specifically because the literature, yes, it is a historically appropriate product in some instances. However, color is a factor in what could be considered appropriate, perhaps more than other roofing materials because of its reflective quality, because of how it just takes up more visual space in or calls more attention depending on what color you install. So I think where typically the commission would not oversee color, this might be one instance where it does actually impact the visual quality once it's installed. In my experience walking the street, you can't really see it in the photo, but it was glaring. And I could be wrong. I think having a darker, more toned down color might have changed that, but it was what caught my eye going down that street. Now I understand that the garage is not, I think one thing that I was looking at was the placement of the garage, and it is a front gable configuration. It's set back, makes so that it's not, it's not going to be glaring or whatever. very obvious from the right of way. However, the real question is, I mean, it is visible, both the home and garage are contributing, according to the recent resurvey. And I don't think that according to the standards, that a metal roof would be completely inappropriate here. However, my concern would be, one of the issues Ellen was looking at in her initial staff review earlier this year was what other metal roofs are in the district. In that specific area, there weren't any at the time, because 308 had not been installed yet. And if we're using precedent to approve things, then it can quickly, I think, kind of snowball into little pockets within the district that might change the character. So that is my concern, because secondary to the garage, when the roof of the home is updated eventually, it's ideal that both the garage and home would have the same roofing material typically. So my concern would be, would that be sort of, easily allowing for that approval? And again, I don't believe that metal roofing is inappropriate, but I think a careful consideration of what that is doing within the district, and also like the colors that we are looking at and approving, if they're historically compatible, are important. So those are my notes, and I included Ellen's staff review of 308, which was the most relevant, I think, of recent cases or applications that we've been looking at. This is a photo of the applicant's home, and you can see the garage is here. It is set back far enough that it won't be, very obvious within the district. So my recommendation to the commission would be, there are a couple options for motions. My recommendation is to carefully consider another approval specifically in the color Galvalume. And I think it really could be found appropriate or inappropriate depending on the materials and, future installations at the home. That's all I have.
Okay, great, thank you. Open up here for discussion. But I guess my first question is Galvalume finish / color, whatever, are you married to that choice?
I would kind of want to go with that color, just because the house right across the street has the same thing. It's just directly across.
Yeah.
Also, if it was a dark color, I think it would keep the heat a little bit more. Personally, I think it looks more historic. I mean, I don't know I defer to you guys, but I think you've seen metal roofs in the old days.
Yeah, well, as pointed out, there have been other applications, and they work for other colors, and that didn't necessarily work out. So, but that was because something that actually happened was not what was approved. So that's another problem with looking around the district and seeing things. Just because you see it doesn't mean it was actually went through the approval process.
Sure.
Precedent also works a little bit differently in the historic district. There's a couple different levels and layers. I think that the most obvious precedent for a historic resource such as your home would be, I have an historic photograph of this home with a steel roof on it from 100 years ago. There's precedent.
Sure.
So precedent applies sort of to each structure on its own, and then as well as at another layer, like in the district overall. So again, just simply seeing it in the district doesn't necessarily mean, we've got some sort of precedent here for, get a steel roof now.
Okay.
So I know for me, the issue with the color is not simply that it is light, but that it, in the past, the commission has been concerned with that reflectivity, not toward the sky, but toward other neighbors and that kind of thing. There are some examples of how that does have an impact on the neighborhood. So I know that is a concern.
Okay.
Yeah, the color choice. But commissioners may have other questions or concerns about this particular choice or material. And I open it up for commissioner comments.
Fine, I'll jump in.
Please.
I have a number of sort of questions, not automatically for you, concerns. The way this project raises a number of interesting thoughts for me. A couple of things, not automatically in order because they were part of the packet that I wanted to talk about and you bring up. For example, Ellen wrote that while she has found standing seam on certain kinds of buildings, she doesn't find them on houses. And she also wrote that she looked through the McAllister Field Guide to American Houses and finds roofs on houses, Victorian houses, to be mainly like shingles. And first of all, they make metal shingles. You can buy those. You could make that choice. But Ellen's observations in leaning on McAllister is actually not completely true. It's actually relatively common in the South for houses to have standing seam metal roofs that date back to this same period. And you can actually find them in McAllister's book, just in another section. And I just find it interesting, she leans onto brief 4 to say, about certain things, but brief 4 mentions nothing about the standing seam use in the South. I lived there for 18 years. I saw a lot of houses with standing seam roofs. To finish, first of all, Galvalume is not a color. Galvalume is a zinc treatment to steel.
Sure.
It comes up with the color by the nature of its process. In the 21st century, we make steel roofs with relatively shiny surfaces. Why? Because we're 21st century people. The roofs you see that are metal and flat colored, many of them are painted on top of the metal. Exactly what the chemistry is that painted, I don't know, but it's much flatter. And you see that all over the South. Even the silver colored roofs don't reflect light quite the same. Plus, many times they're done with a lighter gauge metal and they're not ridge, they don't have ridge vents because they didn't vent roofs, they didn't know they should do that. Many times they even flatten the seams. All this is to say that there's a lot more complexity here, and it's really hard to just read into sort of literature that's sort of simple and 50 years old in terms of brief 4 and make decisions. We've learned a lot since then. So all that being said, I find this to be an interesting thing to discuss in terms of our community and how we apply the rules and how we look at history from the perspective that we have today. So I do not see many standing seam roofs up here in the Midwest on houses. That isn't to say they don't exist. I'm also not a student of them. But I just question sometimes the way we're leaning on certain pieces of information, like they're a Bible. I don't buy that.
I've noticed that depending on the area you go to, like up north, there's certain pockets where metal roof, metal roof, metal roof, metal roof. And then there's certain areas, the same, geographic area, you go a little ways away and they're asphalt roofs. So it seems like it's like maybe one guy has a company there. He does a bunch of houses.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying you're right in Depot Town or in Ipsy, but it just seems like kind of like you're saying about the South, like locale-wise can kind of dictate.
There are regionalisms.
Yeah.
And the preservation community and a lot of the documents that we have in the preservation world does not address regionalisms, not well at all. So all that being said, it is, from my perspective, it is much more common to find a shingle type approach on a roof of the house of your nature in this region.
Okay.
Would you entertain that?
I think the install would be a lot more difficult it would
Probably is.
it
Would you
take-
entertain it if it went to your house?
I would have to, I should have brought my, survey this week, because I think this community would be a lot better served to have my porch on 323 Maple done than to have a shingled roof on a lowly. I mean, I feel like I have a lot of bigger fish to fry, and it'd be nice to get that done in a weekend and have, because I'm gonna do it myself. I mean, it's just I don't have the money to pay somebody to do it, because they're gonna charge an arm and a leg. That's part of my calculus, is just the cost and the longevity. I'm not gonna have to redo the roof in a long time. I am a builder. I've never worked with that product before, and it just seems like if there's a bunch of little pieces, it's gonna be more prone to leakage versus, I don't know. I haven't researched it that much. I just saw a bunch of galvalume in the neighborhood. Gary did it on his place. It seems like an easy install. It seems like it's a good product. I would be disappointed if a lot of other people got to put this on their houses and I didn't. But I defer to you guys as a organization and as a committee. But I would strongly want to be able to do this to my garage.
As the chair stated, some of those people who put it on their buildings didn't automatically get approval for it.
Sure.
But I'd be remiss if I didn't say, putting a metal roof on is way better in the long run than putting asphalt on. For environmental and preservation and building reasons, it is the best roof you can put on a building. So I'm absolutely a huge fan. And I guess I would, if there is one thing I can say to my fellow commissioners, I wouldn't be one that would demand that if there was standing seam on the garage, that there should be standing seam on the house. I wouldn't be in that category.
I mean, and also just to jump back a second, my porch on my house, which needs so much work, and I just rather dedicate that time and energy to that. I mean, that doesn't affect your decision on this project, but it would just speed things up on getting a historic gem in the neighborhood. A beautiful Queen Anne that was the banker's house, that just needs a lot of work done to it, that I would like to be focusing more on that than this, but.
Yeah, that was one of my questions for the commissioners, was what was the thinking on the different types of material? We do have roofs, there are structures in the district that might have a porch with a metal roof versus the main body of the house having different type of roof. So there is some flexibility with, I think, the mix and match of materials. It's not to say that any mix and match would work, but I think there's openings there for that, for sure. And we are just talking about the garage technically at the moment.
My question is, what color are we going with? I'm looking at the Home Depot website, and I'm seeing a black, blue,
Well,
red, a green, a gray,
This would
gold,
be, it's kind of like,
brown.
it would be like, just like, it's pretty much like all the other ones in the,
So that's just unfinished.
well,
It's a zinc coated steel. Sorry, I've specified the product. It's zinc coated steel. The color is a result of the processing materials. What you're looking at, Stefan, are painted products.
Yes.
But in any case, all of them come with a certain degree of gloss to them, because we don't make flat steel, flat as in paint finish. We don't make flat steel roofs or flat aluminum roofs. You can't buy them, as far as I know.
Okay.
but the manufacturers of this product offer it in this galvalume finish as well as an array of colors, do they not?
I'm not certain, but yeah, if you're looking at the website, I mean, I know they have some other colors, I just didn't research beyond this one.
Understood.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I do remember the application for the house, the other house on Maple, and I don't remember that it was particularly contentious in terms of the metal roof, the standing seam metal roof.
Okay.
I do remember that the commission did discuss the color because it's this big uninterrupted area that's highly visible. And so, but that brings me to where my discomfort comes in, was saying, well, it will match the house across the street. The problem is the house across the street was not approved for that color. It's, in a word, illegal.
Well, I
So-
think, the one across the street,
For the garage.
that's the garage. It's, the one across the street, I think, was approved for the Galvo room. That wasn't the red. I think it's the one down the street more was supposed to be the red.
Okay, yeah.
But not
That's what I
to,
was saying, one of the, yeah, maybe not that house, but one of the houses that's sort of cited as precedent really has no precedential value because
okay.
that's not what was approved.
What was the, I think it's, which one is that? Is it 308? 308 Maple, is that one, what about that one? Because that was.
That's the whole roof.
Okay, then what about 405 Maple?
I believe that is this one with
That-
the low overhangs.
And the
then
garage?
also the garage.
Yeah, was that one approved?
That one was approved and the color was changed after the fact. So originally a darker gray was approved by the commission.
Okay,
And then they wanted to change the color and it did get approval for a color change.
But that's for the garage,
For
house, too.
the lower,
Right,
low pitched, first story, shed roofs around.
Right.
and,
not for the whole roof.
Not for the whole roof.
yeah, you can't really see it in this one, but it's the garage in the background, and then this part of the
Right,
roof is done too, so
Right.
not a lot on the front part, but. So,
Okay, got that.
yeah.
Okay, so it looks like we've got some, a variety of views on this application, material choice, color choice. I guess I don't know exactly the 4 votes available, I don't know where things stand, I don't sense that at the moment.
Could I just say one thing else?
Sure.
I would strongly lean towards the product that I pushed forward, but I would defer to you guys if you guys really have another color that, I mean, it's not set in stone. I'd rather not go red if that, if it needs to be a darker gray or something,
Yeah.
something that goes with the house, I wouldn't have a huge problem with it, but I would lean towards this, so.
You know, I think, I don't know if I speak for, I don't want to get in the business of picking colors for people. But there is still the issue of, is something not just that vague word, appropriate or inappropriate, but does it conform to the standards? And if we can say with a straight face and actual reference to the standards, that this is not compatible with the rest of the neighborhood, with the style of the house, et cetera. And I think what staff is talking about is really the effect on the neighborhood that having this sort of, it's not mirror-like, but still a large reflective surfaces in the middle of what is otherwise a somewhat restrained palette down the street. If it's something that projects one structure head and shoulders above everything else, and that's all you see is this reflective roof, that would be something to discuss and to talk about. And the issue is not whether we like it or don't, but for me anyway, it's not whether I like it or don't like it.
Of course, right.
It's, is it in conformity with the standards? I am struggling even at this moment with the issue as framed by staff, that this, again, let me be clear, I don't have a problem with the metal roof materials. We've approved it before, we've determined before that it could be an appropriate material historically and architecturally. Every other standard, it's this highly reflective issue.
Right. So this application is for the garage, which is relatively set back and not nearly as prominent, let's say.
And by the way, that's a feature leading me, that pushes me the other way. Absolutely. It's not the house, it's not right at the sidewalk. It's not the first thing you see coming down the street. Well, those are factors.
And though you say, and I agree to the point that we're not here, I don't want, the commission is not going to, come up with the color scheme necessarily. Yet at the same time, if there is a color or sheen or something that is on the not approvable list versus a color or sheen or sheens or colors that are more favorable, that's, that's useful input in the discussion. And could be enough to change the way the motion and the votes go. So, one way to look at that, I guess, is sort of straw poll through it. So at this point, again, garage, is there something, or the motion as stands, there's a potential motion there to approve. Is that a motion as is or slightly modified that commissioners feel that they would go with? I'm just gonna do straw poll, work my way down the line. John, if you could.
If the motion was to approve with that surface, I would probably vote to approve.
Okay.
And because it's a secondary structure away from the street.
Okay. Chuck?
Me too.
Stephen?
I could approve a metal roof for a structure, an outbuilding. I'm just concerned that it says bare galvalume, like, we don't allow bare wood in
Well,
the district.
that's a
I mean,
sort of
I
a
just-
misnomer.
I mean,
Galvalume,
yeah,
again,
I am concerned about the, shining glare. And if we suddenly get, 100 applications for shiny metal roofs, are we setting a precedent for that?
Stefan, did you have the colors from Home Depot pulled up, or did you?
I just Googled Galvalume.
Okay. 'Cause
I
I
don't
did,
showed up
I
with
did
it.
look at them and, I'm not sure.
I just
There
didn't,
is
I should,
there money.
The manufacturer of your particular roof would have their own set of colors. Is this metal sales, is that actually the manufacturer?
Yeah.
Is there Home Depot?
I think it's its own company, but Home Depot is like the middleman, so they came up with the quote and stuff.
So, to your point about the term bare,
Yes, that's what it says in the Home Depot quote that I'm looking at.
Right,
Vertical
so-
steel screen.
galvalume is similar to anodizing aluminum. It's a process. In the case of, as best I understand it, in the case of galvalume, it is adding a zinc coating. Can you do that and actually introduce color at the same time? No doubt. It is a finished product. It
Correct.
is not bare.
But-
I don't care that Home Depot doesn't know that. It is a finished product, ready to be installed in a building. If that is what you want, it will exist for the next 75 or 150 years.
That's what,
Yes.
I mean, it's not like, it's like a roof. It's
I'm not
replaced in 30 years.
trying to support the decision or not support
Yeah,
the
yeah.
decision. I'm just trying to be clear. It is not a raw product that needs to be finished after that.
Correct, but I'm just wondering, would a finished product have a different sheen to it? Or, I mean, what is the one that we were looking at? that in the neighborhood outshines everybody? Is that because doesn't have a paint on it, or is it because that was the Galvalume,
I think that one is the Galvin finish, the one that,
the Galvalume finish, yeah, I mean,
I think they're all the examples they're all the Galvin finish. I don't know of any other ones in the
I mean,
district.
let's look at the metal cell site, and there's all these, everything option-wise, including the galvanum in the color chart there, so like, there are ones that read as slightly darker or less reflective to my eyeball.
I think the only people that would be dealing with the direct reflectivity of would be the tenants in the upstairs of the duplex itself. Because there's a big tree line right next to the one neighbor,
yeah,
and then
But the
from the
tree-
street, you're not gonna be able to really see
the
it.
tree loses its leaves.
That's true.
Right, it is those residents that, like, if this was going on a roof that was, 5 stories in the air, no, it wouldn't be a problem with reflectivity, that's the thing, is it is your lowest roof.
Okay.
So, but I mean, just based on the straw poll, it seems like your motion, I mean, your proposal could pass as is, even, so maybe this is a moot point.
What would you say, Alex, if it was just you?
If I was doing this roof myself, I have.
If you were the first person on the straw poll.
I would not, I haven't actually weighed in on the straw poll yet. I would not accept this as is. I would like to see a different, something less reflective.
Okay.
And I'm not talking like red, and I don't mean that,
Okay, good, because yeah.
but that would be my preference. I think the roof materiality is fine. I think that all fits within Secretary of Interior standards. But now what we're talking about is the district, and its effect, its impact on the district as a larger whole.
One concern that I would have would be the bonding of the whatever, if it is indeed built into the anodized process and bonded to the metal, great, but if it's a coating on top, it's gonna peel off, and that's something that I really wouldn't want to have to deal with, and this is kind of a known quantity.
Yeah, I don't know their process. I don't know if they warranty them any differently. Maybe the warranty is exactly the same on them, and that would suggest to me that they have the same level of faith in the product, regardless of the materiality. I don't know that. No.
Is the signification of it? It was originally proposed to be asphalt with a venom.
What gauge roof material is this that we're looking at?
This one.
I didn't see that.
It's not gonna be an insulated structure, so I just wanted to simplify it a little bit, but, and then when we put the membrane on, it was at that point, we're like, well, do we wanna cut this out after the fact, or no, let's just do it, and switch that. But since we're not gonna be insulating the building, I think it's kind of moot as far as the venting. But as far as the gauge, 24 gauge.
Okay.
So, yeah. And I think there were 2 options, I was going with the more robust version. If memory serves.
They've got, I mean, just look at the site. I see a 24, 26, and a 29 gauge.
Oh, really? Okay, I thought that was the stronger one.
But anyway, I don't know if that impacts this decision, but just data that's relevant. All right, well, we can certainly put a motion out there and modify if in subsequent discussion, that's where it seems to go. But if we need someone to feel so moved. When I say someone, I mean the commission.
I was about to jump.
Well, I'll just move it along. See where it goes. I would move to approve the proposed amendment to the previously approved application PHDC-25-0030 and issue a certificate of appropriateness for the material change from architectural asphalt shingles to standing seam metal roofing in the color Galvalume for the re-roof of the garage at 410 Maple. The garage's setback and front gable roof configuration mitigate visual impact on the surrounding district, and the proposed work does meet the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation number 9. Contemporary designs shall be compatible and shall not destroy significant original material.
Can I add a friendly amendment?
Sure.
Can I propose that we add that the approval of this roof for the garage, it is not the intent of this commission to say that that is a precedent for the house itself?
Yes, I accept that as an amendment.
Then I'll second the motion.
Okay, we've got a motion, we've got a second. Let's open it back up again for any further follow-up discussion. It's like half the commissions have already weighed in on it, so, but if there's anything else anyone else wants to add or modify or discuss regarding the motion before we vote.
I'm still not convinced that Galvalume is non-reflective. Can I amend and ask for?
I mean, we can offer an amendment, we can vote on that amendments if you want to go ahead and change things, but, yeah, we can vote on an amendment if you'd like to make one.
Stefan, can I offer one thing while you're thinking?
Yes.
We, also in the 21st century, we're pretty used to asphalt shingle roofs. They're ubiquitous. I just looked up the albedo of black asphalt shingles. It is 5. There's nothing else anywhere near 5 that you put on a roof that has an albedo of 5. That's the reflectivity of the roof. We are so used to our roofs not being reflected at all. But the materials from 100 years ago, if you don't think wood shingles reflect, you're wrong. If you don't think the metal they used back then reflected, that'd be wrong too. It all reflects way more than black asphalt shingles. We're just used to it, and that has come after the period that we're talking about.
I have no amendments.
Whatever it takes. All right, let's move to it then. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Aye. That's 3 in favor, 1 opposed, motion carries. So you now have something to do in the next couple weeks.
This will be good. Get this one covered up. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
I'll reach out with the letter.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm sure she gets correspondence coming your way.
And you'll see me again relatively soon with a study of my prime residence, so.
All right, you know what time it is? All right.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again.
Actually, you may not know, just keep an eye out.
Yeah, you guys, it does
Where are we
move.
next?
Next up, we have, we're into new business, 16 South Washington. Do we have anybody in attendance representing 16 South Washington?
No, online. So no.
Okay. All right, well, Carrie, could you give us then the staff review of the application?
Yes. All right, so 16 South Washington, that is where the farmer market is located. It was previously a bank. The building is non-contributing to the historic district. The site is surrounded by a sea of concrete, mainly directly around the building itself. But then we have some other adjacent, a couple non-contributing buildings, and then also the rear of several contributing buildings because we're in the middle of the block. The applicants are proposing 2 murals, both hand painted. One is painted on the windows of the building on both the north and the east elevation. And then the second mural would be hand painted by professional artists, and it would feature just a nature scene and be mounted on the fence on the rear of the property, on the west property line. And if you look in that area of the district, there are several other murals. It's an area that, in staff's opinion, is a kind of pocket within the district that doesn't have a lot of contributing structures around it, but there is seasonally a lot of activity. And my recommendation is that the murals do not have any negative effect on contributing structures, as they are, here, you can see the location. The red are non-contributing structures, and then the blue around it are contributing structures. But like I said before, the murals would be facing South Washington, and in staff's opinion, adding vibrancy to that area of the district, and not negatively impact anything contributing. So my recommendation would be to approve the application as presented.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything particular to add here. The commissioner, thoughts, comments, motion?
I agree 100% with staff's view, especially with it's removable. It's not going to damage anything. I would be prepared to make a motion, but if there's so I therefore move to approve application PHDC-25-0071 and issue a certificate of appropriateness for hand-painted window and fence-mounted murals at 16 South Washington as described in the application. The proposed work meets the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation. Number 2, do not destroy original character. Do not remove or alter historic materials or features. Number 9, contemporary design shall be compatible and shall not destroy significant original material. And number 10, new work shall be removed. So move.
Second.
Can I ask for discussion?
You may.
I agree with everything that's been said in terms of the removable and all of those things, except that in this particular case, the specifics of the artwork include the company who's running the place's logo. And I think that transforms it from me, from the work of art, to a sign. And I don't want, as one commissioner, don't want to set a precedent for the Bank of Ann Arbor to be, quote, making art with their logo embedded in it and painting it on the sides of buildings. So I can't support the actual graphic. And the Bank of Ann Arbor is my bank, so nothing against them.
Is that illustrated anywhere in the material?
Yeah, it's right.
How come
This is Growing Hope's logo that he's referring to here.
Gotcha. Further discussion? Any further comments regarding these murals? Sounds like no. So let's take it to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed. That's 3 in favor, 1 opposed, motion carries. Okay. Moving then on to well, so we have 516 North River, and that's up. I think we have some changes here. We've got Commissioner is the applicant. Will have to recuse himself, And then therefore we will not have quorum to continue. But commissioners have reviewed this in the packet prior to the meeting. This could be treated as a bit of a study item. If any commissioners saw something in particular that was worthy of discussion, or I suppose the applicant himself could throw a point out there if there was something, kind of feedback that they were looking for.
I think
To you first.
I think that's exactly right. If, and I don't think we should take much time on this, but this, if it's possible, if we could treat this as a very informal, short study item, if there's something that the three remaining commissioners see as an insuperable barrier, I'd like to know about it now, otherwise we'll just move on.
I'm good with it.
I'm good with it. Swapping out vinyl for the wood. And traditional.
Yeah, and there was nothing that called out to me, particular. You've only got a couple commissioners here to contend with, too many to get opinion of the others. But no, I've got nothing to add. It doesn't sound like any of the other commissioners do either. So. All right. So then we move on. We get to move into study items now. First up, we have, well, tell you what. Oh no, I'm sorry. 422 Northampton. We have somebody here for 422 Northampton.
I believe we do. Let me just go over here.
Okay.
So the owner is here. Hi, are you there, Kareem?
Hi, everyone.
Welcome. Okay. Guess if you could please give us a staff review of where things are at this application.
And I apologize, my comments are at the bottom here, which is not helpful, but, so 422 North Hamilton, the, carriage house had been illegally demolished earlier this year. Last month, the owner came to the commission, with a study item for the reconstruction of the carriage house. And there's discussion about, what the reconstruction project would look like in general. There weren't any, materials submitted to staff beforehand, or at the time of the meeting to review. And part of that discussion was, actually about zoning, and, thankfully the city planner was present, and we were able to, clarify that there were some very specific zoning requirements, in regards to the structure. So following the meeting, I have recommended to the, owner and the project team, that they get in touch with the city planner, and just make sure that they are on the same page with, for zoning, and then also building. I received an application on the date it was due. However, I didn't receive all the, necessary materials to be able to, or the permit fee, to be able to accept it as an application. So therefore it is a study item this month again. I still don't have cut sheets available, although in the application, there were some descriptions of materials that were suggested. However, there were a lot of options, and a lot of those options would not be approvable for the reconstruction. So I went ahead and gave a review, and notes back to the project team and the owner. However, with the caveat that, of course, it's not a full review. I don't have all the information. I would need to be able to comment on, it's not clear what is being proposed yet at this point in time. I had some issues with the draft of the drawings that was sent. It didn't seem to staff that there were, that the historical photographs that we do have available, and the project team has available, it didn't seem to be reflected in the provided drawings. For example, the dimensions in profile of trim, the materials in general, but also, justifications for why things are designed the way they are. There are some remaining materials on the site that will need to be, per the standards, those will need to be reused back in the reconstruction of the carriage house where possible. And so there are some pretty, for example, the clapboard siding that remains will need to be matched in profile. And so those are, there's some differences in height, and it's not quite clear what's being proposed for openings. So my recommendation was that for the October meeting, before that application deadline comes around, that there's maybe another, application materials are reworked, and then staff is consulted with to kind of work through some of those things before the final submittal, just to hopefully have something that will be complete and hopefully approvable by the commission. But I definitely welcome all of your feedback on both my comments and, of course, the materials that were turned in. So if that's all I have, I don't know if Kareem has.
So, well, first off, I just want to say good evening. Hello, everyone. So right now we are well, first, is William in the group with us today? I'm not sure if he joined. He said he was planning on joining us.
No, he did call me beforehand and said that he was not going to be able to join.
Oh, even better. Okay, so right now we are going through a few things with William. We do have a material list, I believe, but we're kind of going a little bit back and forth with him because the pricing it just doesn't make sense. It's nearly coming out to 6 figures for a barn style garage, and we didn't really receive a pricing breakdown or anything like that. So we're going back and forth because some of the materials that were proposed in his application, or please excuse me on the terminology, I'm not too familiar with it, but what he was proposing to us were some of the materials that weren't really needed, thus increasing the cost for us. And just as a side note, I mean, obviously we want to erect the building to how it was and just bring it back to, exceptional standard really, but with a lot of things going on, it just doesn't make sense for it to be about, $83,000 for what he's proposing us. So we're kind of going just a little bit back and forth right now with him, trying to get a better understanding of what we can do, and what was proposed with him and what really would just be exceptional with the committee. But that's where we stand as of right now. We're nearly there, but right now we're just talking about material costs.
The materials in the packet, Carrie, you mentioned the submittal of additional materials. Is that material, did you include that anyway, or is that not in the packet?
So the only information I have on materials is included right here. It was what was included on the application itself.
Okay.
And like I mentioned, there's a lot of discrepancy in options.
Right, okay.
So it's not exactly clear yet what's being proposed.
Yeah, this is all in a very much, like, if this was slated to be an action item tonight, and there's no way, this is nowhere near ready for that kind of thing, and I think Karen knows that, I was trying to pin down those details in advance, but there's a lot more specific, there's no rush to get to, I get I understand the reason to keep things moving along, but to rush to an application where we have to either approve or not approve it, there's no sense doing that until all these details are straightened out. Even material, even as you said, you're going back and forth with material choices. That would all need to be ironed out before you make an application.
Correct.
There's a lot of details here that I think, just a lot of question marks still, and I don't know if commissioners feel like they have enough even to comment on, or perhaps the commissioners perhaps see something heading in a certain direction and would like to ask a question about it, or head it off perhaps, or encourage, or something like that. At this point, I don't know if commissioners see that kind of potential, but I guess I would open up to commissioner comment for that kind of thing. Could start as a discussion point, maybe some of the things that Carrie had even pointed out in her evaluation. It could be helpful to sort of comment on those. Again, looking for feedback to give to the applicant, to take back to the builder as well. That would help to sort of focus and narrow down some of these things.
The original structure had a second story. Is that being included? With the door above the garage doors accessing the attic area, the second level?
Are you asking the applicant?
I'm just wondering, it's not in the thing, it's not in the plans.
Yeah, see, this is why I was requesting William to be a part of this meeting today. Really, I know he's been communicating with you guys, live on the side, maybe Carrie, but with us, he just last second. Sorry guys, I'm accompanied by my partner today, Hiba, by the way. But Hiba, when did he send it to us? By like Friday, randomly, he sent us the cost, just the whole breakdown.
Yeah, he sent us an invoice with no like full breakdown of all the materials, everything that he was charging us for on Friday. Didn't respond Saturday and Sunday because he's off. And then it was just kind of in the air for Monday and Tuesday today.
Yeah, so we've been getting other opinions from other builders, and 10 out of 10 have been saying that it's an outrageous price point. And I guess something about an approved, there was like an approved drawing or something that was approved that we were good to go, but and then the builder was kind of throwing on some things that weren't really part of it, to say the least. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at. We're going back and forth with the builder right now, trying to see where is he coming up with this. We don't want to rush it. I want to make sure this building is up and ready to go, but it needs to make sense. And of course, it needs to be approved fully by the commission. So that's where we stand as of now.
Have you seen any of the feedback that Carrie provided that's in the packet that's available for this meeting this evening?
Yeah, we've been looking at it. We would glance at it, but William would tell us to just let him be the one to handle it. So we've been just kind of letting him do so. But this past Thursday, Friday, whatever it was, that's what it kind of took us by surprise. So.
Stefan, to possibly answer your question, if you look at drawing 1 on A2, the section through the wall does not include a second story. So I would say they're not proposing a second story. But what they are proposing are 3 doors on the outside that are not, quote, overhead doors. I don't understand why they're there, and it's certainly not the look that it had before. And it kind of makes it look like it's going to be operated as a duplex, which might be the wrong message.
So yes, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it's looking like it's going to be operated as a duplex according to what we're hearing and the materials and whatnot. And obviously we just want to bring it back up to a standard, historical barn looking garage, or barn style, I should say. But that's why it's kind of drawing up some confusion on our end, because I don't know, it just didn't seem like that was the correct proposal.
Is the building going to be insulated? It's not called out.
Insulated, I'm not entirely sure. Just however it was from before is how we plan on bringing it back. And also for the commission as well, if there's any notes I can take down, maybe any feedback from for the builder that I can take note of so I can pass it along. Again, wishing he was here. But if there's anything we can take note of to pass along, especially with this, the duplex style that he's kind of proposing in a sense, I would definitely love to take note of that.
Well, commissioners, I would say that you should definitely take back these notes from staff, from Carrie that she made. I think those will all seem relevant in some way to the design and to the final product.
Okay.
Just have thoughts about adjusting or adding to that at least.
Okay.
If I may, I just want to clarify, because I sent the comments that I've compiled, I sent most of the same comments to them about a week earlier, but I did adjust a couple things before posting the packet. So I can, Kareem, I can resend the updated comments to you all again.
Please.
A couple additions I added.
Yes, please.
Carrie, can I ask you a question? Am I to understand that you expect them to be reusing the old materials in the new structure?
Yes. So just for reconstructions specifically, any remaining materials should be integrated as part of the structure.
Do we have an inventory of what that is?
So we have documentation, but in my meeting with the architects and builders over a month ago,
I apologize. I don't mean to cut anybody off. I think you guys froze from our end. I don't know if you
carefully removed, stored, and then reinstalled. Comments was that, that plan needs to be included in the application, but also it wasn't called out, like what area of the reconstructed carriage house would be. I think, in my opinion, the most public facing the most visible part of the structure should have those materials or exactly where they were before. That would make the most sense, but none of that was included in the application, and that will need to be included. And my other concern with the original materials is that if things do draw out, they will need to be protected. I understand they are exterior materials, however, ice and water is going to get behind that. So I think my concern would be documenting and removing and storing, marking those items soon, because very quickly we could see deterioration on those original materials.
Are those materials both finishes and things like windows?
Well, I don't believe there are any windows. It's just
diamond sashes up high.
What's that? Sorry.
The square sashes that are up in the gable.
Yeah, I was going to ask that too. As you described it, the character defining diamond opening.
Yeah.
Which clearly is, do we know, is any of that?
Oh, no,
remaining?
it's just
section of
one wall, just one section of wall. And I'm sorry, I have that photo of what remains. It's not included here. I should have included it. I think that might have been in a previous packet. But
So things like the windows and doors, they're
right,
just, that's
that's
been carted off.
all new.
Gone.
Okay.
Okay.
And I would want to reinforce your position about protecting the materials, but also add to it that you can seemingly protect the materials by causing greater harm if you put them underneath certain kinds of plastics, clear plastics in particular. The moisture will stay underneath and they will rot faster.
Okay.
And mold and other things when they're on the ground. They don't have a chance to dry out. So just throwing plastic on them and ignoring them doesn't guarantee anything at all.
Yeah, if there are materials that are on site, they need to be inventoried. That needs to be part of our materials. I think we need to be aware of what materials remain. And it seems like it's part of the punch list for working on that site anyway, is to disassemble, get that out of the way safely, et cetera, anyway, so. I see that as being something that can be taken care of sooner than later. Okay, so is there other, I guess, other things here in the material that we do have that we can make use of, or that we can, it can inform anything here that the applicant can take away and get to a builder for additional input besides, or in addition to the materials that are already in the packet? For me, I just saw a lot of things here. I didn't have anything particular to add. It just, I feel like with the then evaluate, but if it was heading in a particular direction, I think we can nudge it that way now, or nudge it in a way that keeps it on rails, but I feel like we need to see something a little more concrete before we can really weigh in on anything.
I think the ball is sufficiently in their court.
I think that's right, and I would like to commend the owners for their, what appears to be a good faith effort to move this along in the right way.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's necessary to keep this all rolling, so, thank you for that.
Yeah, well, thank you for you guys recognizing that we are attempting our best to get this situated. Obviously I want it to be back to the way it was. But I guess I do have a question for the commission. It's just I suppose I want to ask, does it necessarily have to be a barn style? Okay, there's nothing else that we can erect over there or make it like a little sitting area or like a pond or nothing at all. It has to be strictly a barn style garage.
I mean, on that footprint, a structure that looks an awful lot like the structure that was there is what goes there. If there's something else you want to do in addition to, that's fine, but,
Right, but it's demolished. I mean, unfortunately, at this point, we would even be more than happy to just level it out, make it a little pretty area for my tenants to, maybe lounge around, sit around, and make it more attractive in that alleyway. I just trying to take on a little bit more just because I don't know, I just don't really see just it being a barn, maybe a little bit more, but I understand it is a historic division. Just trying to see if there's anything else that can possibly be done, make it a little bit prettier.
it hadn't been illegally torn down, it would still be there. And we wouldn't be having this conversation at all, you would have a barn.
I understand. I mean, also if the previous sellers were maybe tugged a little bit more, maybe it could have been solved that way. We were misinformed a lot from the beginning, and they even gave us some sort of receipt stating that, oh, this cost $5,000 to demolish, which I still have that receipt from the seller, which I can send. Just being misled in many ways. So I understand that, it was illegally brought down. We were misled in many ways, but also maybe could have been settled with the previous seller, the previous owner beforehand. And I understand what was done already, yes, but if there's any way we can just make it a little bit of a better area instead of just erecting a barn that was neglected by previous owners.
Now, would the commission find it difficult if the structure that was, the replacement structure be used as a barn? Could it be used as an accessory dwelling if it's so permissible by the rest of the city?
I don't think we're particularly concerned with the use of the building.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not our purview. It was a barn, and it's super unfortunate how this all arrived. There's no doubt. I don't think anyone questions that it's this is far less than ideal how we got here, but here we are, and this is how we get out of it, or work our way out and solve and resolve it.
Can I play devil's advocate with this concept for a moment?
Sure.
Yes, there was a mistake made, the building was demolished. That's a problem. And we are where we are. These people have, at the moment, a high five-figure dollar cost to build a pole structure in their backyard in the image of history. Preservation in America isn't supposed to be building 21st century buildings that pretend to be 19th century buildings. Actually, our standards say that. So we're making fake history that people could think is real history to a certain extent. It is not going to be built the way it was. It might have some materials on it the way it was. Will we be fooling people in the future? I don't know. So when Philadelphia wanted to celebrate Ben Franklin's home place, they didn't quite know where the house was and they didn't quite know what it looked like. And if you search it, you will find that they built a steel frame in the form and scale of the cottage that he might have lived in, but it's hollow, you can walk through it. It both commemorates what was there and says we don't really know and we're not faking it. This is a 20th century building in this case. So why couldn't we do something that's in between? Because what they're going to build is going to be an entirely sort of fake structure.
Well, I guess what I would say to that is the applicant ought to feel free to meet the criteria or attempt to meet the criteria whichever way they choose. And if they're able to tell a compelling story, I feel like this is sort of like the infill question, when it's like, how do you decide what structure should go into this hole in the fabric of the district? Tell a compelling story as to why your design is appropriate and fits the district and fits this particular hole in the fabric of the district. And if you could tell a compelling enough story, I suppose, with something beside the barn structure, we'd be happy to hear it. I guess I just want to make it clear that if you did propose a replacement structure that fit that, you would likely get approval from the commission. Another option may or may not, but I suppose who are we to tell you what you can and cannot propose? So if you would like to propose some sort of alternate, again, with a compelling message about how that satisfies the need here, you should feel free to do that.
Okay. Now, I just one side question as well. So, assuming that we were to erect a new building, correct? Now, I understand the displays, and I'm looking at the screen right now where the front of the barn has like two entrances. I'm not sure if they were slide doors at the time. Now, let's just say we dumb it down a little bit. Perhaps if we made it smaller with one slide door, minimizing the cost, minimizing the material, but still paying some sort of homage to the historical building that it once was. And again, I sincerely apologize that we are here today even having this conversation. I wish it was a different conversation, but here we are. Now, if we were to propose something that were maybe like a one slide door and maybe a little bit smaller, but still, again, having that same diamond window at the top and perhaps that same arc for the roof, just making it a little bit smaller, is that something that we could potentially try to propose?
Well, again, I would say that if you think you can tell a story with a design that is something other than mimics exactly what was there, then you should feel free to do that. I can't tell you, we're not going to design it for you. I think this is exactly where you need a professional designer to help do this, to help tell this story, to help this design meets the criteria, and this is why. That's what they get paid for.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely sleep on it and come up with a different proposal in case, you know, some sort of memorial of some sort, to it as well. But we'll definitely, you know, keep you guys in the loop on that, Carrie, especially you. And, again, I'm sorry that the builder wasn't here today. That was a big part of it, but,
Yeah.
I'll be getting back with you on.
Yeah, we're probably not making as much progress tonight as you would have liked, because of his absence.
Yeah, I was hoping for a whole different conversation today, but, I'm just happy that we get to have this today at least.
I think we're doing something here, we're not doing nothing. And I think just discussing some of these thoughts or some of the things that you've got in mind, I think is helpful. And, you know, like I said, I think other things could be possible, but, you would need to, show why any alternate would be appropriate.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yes.
Can I say, I also have one last thing. With the, you know, the caveat that without seeing something in front of me, an actual proposal or a plan, I can't say, oh, yes, this would be fine, or yes, this. But in the very abstract, would I at least entertain the thought of a single sliding door instead of 2 sliding doors? Yes, I would not reject that out of hand. That doesn't mean I would vote for it if it's presented and I see it. And we look at the standards and we look at the rules on demolition and what has to be recreated. I get all that, but that would be my thought there. And I think that ties in with what the chair just said. I think we're certainly not going to tell you absolutely positively you cannot present some proposals.
Right.
Present away, and we will try to apply the ordinance as best we can.
I appreciate that sincerely.
So just to put a visual on it, I gave Carrie an image of one of the 2 structures in Philadelphia. That's what they did too.
Now, was
Okay.
Philadelphia another property in Ypsilanti that was kind of a similar story?
This is the city of Philadelphia.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the neighborhood of Philadelphia. Never mind.
An example,
It's the Philadelphia neighborhood of Ipsy.
anyway,
Gabriel's cheesesteak.
just popped into my head.
All right, well, thanks for the visual. Okay, is there anything else that you've, Kareem, I guess, is there anything else that you would like to get out of the commission in your conversation here tonight?
Just want to say thank you guys for your time sincerely and being open-minded, being, you know, working with us, especially with the flexibility. Again, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep on saying this every meeting that we even have to have this conversation. But the fact that you guys are willing to work with us, hear us out, and understanding that we might have a different proposal that you guys are open to reviewing, doesn't mean it's going to be automatically voted yes, but just at least working with us means the world to us. So I just want to say thank you guys very, very much to the commission.
Absolutely, glad to do it, and we encourage you to keep the conversation going. I think communication is key here, and it sounds like you and Carrie have been doing a lot of that, and that's good.
Yes. Yes, sir.
All righty, well, thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is 208 North Grove. 208 North Grove, hello. Can you hear them from back there, or should they come up
Might
closer
want
to
you to
you?
come
Yeah.
closer, yeah.
So we just wanted to open a study on building a new structure in our backyard, a garage. And we've spoken, well, it was perhaps 2 months ago that I had a conversation with Josh in zoning about it. I wish we had brought like a photograph of an aerial photograph of our lot.
Oh, I can pull one up.
Oh, that would be awesome. So we have behind our house, or the very back of our lot is an access alley but it is not a through alley. It stops right at the DPW lot where there's a fence back there. So, and then the adjacent property to the back of our property is a big apartment building, which is not in, we're actually the very last house in the HDC, in that corner there. Yeah, we're right there. So there's a big apartment building there. I think it's 207 and 205, or it might be all three of those lots. But, so we only have folks to us on 212. And we have a double-sized lot. So it's gonna be, it would be on the very back corner, 3 feet from our back property line from the 208, from the DPW lot. And then Josh said that we could be 1 foot from the alley.
1 foot from the alley.
Which would be pretty rad. We would like to build it in the neighborhood of 20 by 30. It would be single story, no plumbing, insulated, heated and cooled with, I believe, I would like to put in a mini split heat pump. Yeah, single, I don't know, maybe a double wide garage door and a man door. 220, and it would have power, but no plumbing,
Yeah.
no gas.
Yeah, we talked with Carrie about the outward style of the structure, that it would match the house, that we would match the architecture of the area as well. We would have the coloring and the architecture of the structure to match the house. She did state that there was an aerial picture, or there is a historic document that says that there used to be a 10 by 17 building in the back of the property there, but there's no pictures or anything like that. So that is of note that there was a structure there.
But that wouldn't meet our needs.
Yeah, we needed a bigger
We would like to
structure
have a
than
larger
that.
structure than that.
So it wouldn't, and there's no,
Is it in a similar location to where that was? Do you know?
there's not
certain,
any.
There's no,
There's just written on one of the deeds, it just says that there's a 10 by 17 outbuilding. There's
There's-
not any placement marked on
it's
the.
long since been demolished. There's no concrete footing or anything for it.
No,
of
yeah.
any way.
It may never happen, actually. It could have been.
Yeah, no, I'm certain it was probably just on posts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did want to make a concrete footed structure and
Why don't they show
everything.
up on a sandboard or something?
Yeah, I did not do a deep, I didn't know for
That's
sure if
fine.
they were coming tonight, but, I haven't looked at Sanborn's yet. I just found the, I think it was like 1972, assessor's card that called out a 10 by 17, outbuilding.
Oh, that recently? 70?
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
So we would show up on a sandboard map probably.
If it was built before 1920.
Well, I was gonna say, perhaps it's not even historic. Our house is
Yeah.
1920, so
Hmm.
perhaps pretty late by historical standards. But we would match the profile of the, like Sarah was saying, we have lap siding on the underside, and then the gable ends of our house are cedar shingle. I would like to ask the commission if there are any alternative materials that they have, like engineered wood and things like that, based on the calculations for the size building that I was, talking about building. We're talking a difference of $8,000 for only the siding,
Just the material.
given that it's not an original building and isn't, we don't have any record of what the original outbuilding was or anything like that. It seems reasonable to warrant a change, given that we kept the same profile.
I think other materials would be workable, the commissioners can weigh in, but I think it's certainly a possibility if you have something particularly you'd like to propose. Would you be able or interested in trying to, like, what's your roof pattern, roof line gonna look like, do you know? Do you have thoughts on that?
I haven't thought too much about that. That looks like it's, about a 9/12 pitch. I would be totally fine with doing a 9/12 or something along those lines.
One approach would be to mimic this sort of roof line too.
I'm 100% fine with that. We just want to mimic the house more or less, and it's gonna be, the A-frame gable end style structure, pretty much the exact same as that, except I think I'm gonna do an alternative building method for the walls, ladder framing, which is more energy efficient and also a more material efficient building method. So I'll be doing that if approved.
Maybe I did not hear, but did you mention where you plan on siting this building?
It will be 1 foot in the very back, so that would be the southeastern corner of our property, so directly next to the DPW lot, and 1 foot away from the non-through alley.
Is that right?
So the very back corner of our property there.
So behind the house,
Behind the house, it won't be seen hardly at all from the street.
and which way will the overhead doors face?
They will face towards the alley. So, or not towards the alley, pardon me, perpendicular to parallel to the alley, rather.
North.
So,
Yeah. just
yes,
north.
correct, north.
That would be our access to the garage. We wouldn't need to be adding a driveway or anything to the property, as this we would be accessing from the alleyway.
Yeah, that's what Jeff was saying, is that could be our access.
So that alleyway is,
Yes, it's active.
it's
Yes,
an active alley, that's how you would access.
yes, it is. It has not been, what's the term?
I don't know, I would say privatized, but I know that's not the right word.
It's not the right word. Vacated. It's not been
Vacated, there we go,
Correct.
So I would say that, given that it's a brand new building, and you heard my comments regarding fake architecture, I think citing it in the historically appropriate place, which is by the alley, would be something, if you start to second guess that, you would start to lose me, because I prefer it to be sited close to the alley. Because it makes more sense, and it's also the pattern of the way yards work in that area. The outbuildings are located close to the alley. And I just think it makes sense for a lot of reasons. And the only other thing that I would comment on is 16 or 18 foot wide overhead doors only existed in the 21st century. So they're really the wrong scale in a way. And if you could accommodate a pair of overhead doors, for example, it's a better scale for a building of that size.
How about if I built some wooden doors that swung open? Would that be acceptable?
That'd be very cool.
I mean, I think I'll do that.
If you're up for that, I'm up for that. So, I can complain about the fake architecture, but at the same time, the new impositions need to keep the appropriate scale of the neighborhood. I think to me, that's being part of the continuum of a historic place. That's not fake. Scale is just scale.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I mean, you could argue for our particular home, what is fake or historic or whatever, because I'm pretty certain that ours was ordered out of a Sears catalog.
Cool.
So
Yeah, there was a history
we
of
could
that too.
probably find all sorts of precedent in Sears catalogs for things that were available in 1920.
City's got a lot of Sears houses, yeah.
So, yeah.
All up and down the railroad.
I'm like,
They sold those
and based
buildings.
on, all of our rafters are 2x4s and, so yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a.
It should be stamped. It should be stamped if you've ever seen them. Do you have access to any of those, like in the basement, can you see?
I haven't, no.
If it's
Where would it
Sears- Well, so if it's Sears, if it is a kit house, they would be serial numbered, or they'd have some sort of identifier, so you know which piece goes where.
Sure.
I had seen them near the ends of joists, but I don't know exactly where you would necessarily see them, so.
Okay, yeah. And our joist situation is weird because they have like fake rafter tails on them. So, because there's like, we have our regular rafters and then there's like the rafter tails. Oh, but you're talking about the joists, but either way, yeah, I haven't looked around too much in the basement for the joists. We also have joists for the second story up there as well, which we got to bolster quite a bit.
Yeah, so, you know, material wise, I think you've got some options. If you want to come up with some things, I would suggest another study item once you've got, you know, once you start massing the thing out or have an idea of what this could look like, and then start picking your materials. You know, want to know what they all are. Not that we would have tons to say about each and every one of them, but, you know, want to know what you're using for material, want to know what you're using for this and for that. If you're going to have any exterior lighting, that kind of thing. You know, again, many of these things are not like we have super specific things. Sometimes we do, but mostly it's like you just need to know what they are.
Okay, cool.
So another iteration when you get to that point, and then we can sort of hone it down from there and let you know, what remains, and then you can turn it into a full application when you feel the time is right.
We were hoping to submit a full application for October's meeting. That's our objective coming to this as a study meeting.
Gotcha.
I mean, I've been planning our garage for quite a bit. I didn't bring things to present to you, but I have a pretty dang good idea of there aren't too many options in things that were, it's either cedar or the engineered wood when it comes down to things that are going to match the profile of the house. Asphalt, like we got a pretty good idea of roof stuff. So So yeah, we were just that. Honestly, that was one of the two things that I really was wondering about is an alternative material to cedar okay with y'all on the outside, and is the size of the structure, because I'm not gonna I'm not gonna plan this building without knowing if my size is even gonna be okay or approved or whatsoever.
Well, the massing also, that would be a building department concern too, I think, right?
Yeah, well, that's zoning.
Zoning, I mean.
There's a height limit to an accessory building.
Right.
We've
there's
been in
two single
contact
structures.
with
Single,
Josh and the zoning. I've got a pretty solid handle on that, but I was just, because of historical precedent and what size, I didn't know whether or not what size outbuildings would be acceptable or not acceptable. And, that's why we're.
What is the footprint of the house, Joe, roughly?
Is 33 by 24, something.
It is, well, this is the old property card, 32 by 24, yeah. With a
And,
front porch, 8 by 16 front porch.
and I think zoning says that our outbuilding can't exceed the footprint of our house. And can't exceed the square footage of our house. Or maybe it has to be, it can't exceed the square footage, and it has to be like 70% of the square footage. It can't exceed the footprint, and it can't be more than 70% of the square footage of the house or something like that. So, but those are all things that I'll take into account. We will be complying with zoning code when we present something to the committee.
I would say that the commission's concerns sort of are similar to those a little bit, of course, that garage house relationship needs to be, such that this is clearly the house, this is the garage in terms of size and scale. There's no exact formula necessarily for that, so it would be helpful, I think, to be able to see, for us to be able to visualize, here's the property, here's the general massing of our house, and here's the massing of the garage, sort of to see all those things sort of together is a good way to represent what that looks like. And if I don't know that I can say one way or the other. I can't tell you now whether what you're proposing totally works or not without seeing something like that. So
Can I ask, if our outbuilding complies with the zoning code. Is that good enough?
I don't think I know exactly what the zoning code is.
Is that good enough? In what regard?
To be considered by the HTC,
As the
To be
size.
considered, sure.
or to be, I mean, we don't want to approve, we don't want to submit something without it being approved. Of course, you'll consider anything because we can submit an approval for, you know, whatever, but
Is it sufficient? I don't know, that, you know, to say that this meets code.
Is it a
that
non-starter?
sufficient for us? No, we wouldn't be here if it was sufficient, because we wouldn't need us. So there's overlap there for sure, but, I couldn't say that it's sufficient now. But we certainly look at something that does meet those criteria. It kind of depends from one lot, one piece of property to the next, or one house garage combo to the next, how that plays out.
Yeah, we've been looking at different examples in the area too, of house size and garage
Right.
size to see too, so. We will present that with the application as well.
yeah, I will also note that we are directly across the street from that brand new housing development that is happening. I don't know if that would have any weight in your, decision or that, but, you know, we're in between a brand new housing complex, and then we're, on the other side, we're on the very end of the housing of the HDC, and then there's the DPW lot, so.
So being in the southwest corner, you better make it look good.
Yeah, that's right, we're representing the
Well,
whole
we're
community.
representing, the train comes by, they're gonna see that and say, you know,
Well,
historic.
it's looking pretty good. I reckon I've spent 1,000 hours in there since we bought it 4 months ago. So we're quite happy with the work we've done, and it needed it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so if there was concern about putting too much work into something that you think, or that you don't, you know, you're not getting a clear enough message about whether we approve or not, I think to be able to just simply express some of the things that you easily already have in front of you, to show the entire property and plan, at least, of the various pieces, and then to show some sort of perspective, to give a sense for the, you know, the massing of the several bodies that you're dealing with here. That would give us, you know, that would be a helpful tool, going forward for sure. That I don't think would cost too much on your part, especially given
It
the,
will cost a month.
and given the information you've already gathered, it sounds like so far.
If I may, I would just say too, like, you've already been talking with me for this and other projects, but I can act as somewhat, like, I can give you some feedback based on the standards that the commission will be looking at, so you have an idea of, if you have a drawing, you know, before you turn in the application, I can give you some feedback, and kind of work with you before the application is submitted to hopefully get it to an approvable point. So if there was an obvious concern with massing, ultimately, I wouldn't get to make that decision, but I could point you to the standards that the commission will be using to make their decision on. So I would encourage you.
Yeah,
to do what you're doing.
you can get some good progress on the review side of it without necessarily being here in a meeting. You can get a lot of feedback from Karen in advance, and she works to try to line these things up as best as possible, so that when we are sitting here at the table, we're just pretty much going, yay, checking out boxes and, you know, taking votes and moving on. So, I think we can get a lot done the next one that way.
Okey dokey.
Yeah, so it sounds pretty reasonably straightforward to me, but is there anything else while you're here
I don't think so.
that, okay, again, if something comes up, here's a help.
Wonderful.
Cool.
Great,
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, so on the agenda here next, I see you've listed off a bunch of administrative rules that you've been working on, that you've worked on. Is there something that you wanted to share in general about any of that activity? I had a couple of things I wanted to bring up, but just wanted to see if there's anything else you wanted to share
Yes.
first.
So I had understood that admin approvals get presented every 3 months, so I had it on my calendar to submit all of my admin approvals. I didn't realize June really should have been the last submittal of my first month with the meeting. So I apologize, this is a backlog. Some of these are
Okay.
Ellen's approvals earlier in the year, and some of them, probably over half of them, are ones that I have approved. Go there, actually, hold on. That's the phone. I don't have any specific comments, but obviously I'm happy to share, specific language of approvals or answer questions.
Okay. Well, so one thing that occurred to me as I was scanning through them, and again, this may or may not apply, it may not have been your approvals, anything else. But like, I see a couple examples here of the radon mitigation system work, and maybe I can't group them together, but I see that these two here, were they just from the ground up mitigation systems that need to be installed, or were they just repair modifications to existing systems, or?
They were new systems that were being installed. Well, so let me back up a little bit. There are two applications, I believe. The first one is one that Ellen approved, 408 Emmett.
Okay.
And then I had approved one.
301 Grove?
Yes, yep. And both of those cases they were the most discreet possible location without damaging historic materials, so they seem to be pretty straightforward. I talked to Ellen about, I had questions about whether or not it needs to go to the commission.
Yeah.
Which is.
That's what I wondered, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, so from my understanding in conversation with Ellen, it wasn't like when it's a clear case of it not affecting any historic materials and it's in the most discreet location and there are no questions surrounding it, then it can be administratively approved. However, I've been compiling a list of things that I think would be very helpful to not only make approvals more efficient, but just clearer on what, right now, the list for administrative approvals is fairly general and I don't want to say small, but compared to some other districts, it seems like there's a lot of, they're a lot more general than other districts might be, which brings up a lot of questions whether something can or cannot be approved by admin. So that's something in the future I'd really like to go over. And in the past, I know staff has brought up this discussion. I haven't looked fully into it. That's why I'm not bringing it forward tonight. I haven't had time to dig into all the past discussions on that. And perhaps you can enlighten me on some of those discussions, but I'm certainly happy to tweak something moving forward until,
So with the radon mitigation stuff, I guess what I was thinking was we had seen one before, but I think that was because there was a choice about something. Maybe it was the way it penetrated the roof, or the way it either went around the roof, or it went through the soffit, or something.
Okay.
And I don't remember how that one turned out, but it was a very quick and easy, like, go around that thing.
Yeah.
But it sounds like that's the kind of thing that you're looking at, like if the proposal is anything but the least invasive sort of option, then we can go over this way or something like that, if there's something to make a decision about. But it sounds like between your judgment and working with Ellen, you kind of
Yeah, and again, I'm very open to if you, and I can go into the details of that one as well, if you'd like me to, and.
I don't know if commissioners feel like they want to, or feel like there'd be something we said.
No, I did notice that too, because the two on the list, and I don't remember seeing any before, frankly. And I assume for the same reason as the chair, I'm familiar with the house, and I knew that was gonna be, somebody asked me, so what's the rule on radon pipes? And I said, I haven't got a clue. And I'm happy to not have a clue right now, so.
Yes.
I think that the commission and staff should wrestle a little bit with what is de minimis.
Sorry, say that again?
What is a minimal intrusion, a de minimis intrusion? My house is littered with line sets for air conditioners. I seriously doubt anybody brought it before this board. It's also wrapped with now useless cable TV lines. At what point is the line too small to have to be brought before this group, which I think would help to give clarity to you to be able to work with people. Pretty much any intervention, I don't care how de minimis, can be awful for the building. I mean, just awful if done by somebody who doesn't give a damn. And there's only so much we can do.
Right, we're not doing install work no matter what.
I mean, someone could do something awful just putting a Ring doorbell.
And I didn't mean to brush it off that lightly. Of all the things on there, the radon, as I understand, somehow what is sometimes required. Everything else is pretty straightforward, but, I think as the chair alluded to, whatever kind of exhausting piping, whatever you need for radon could have an effect. So just say, well, radon mitigation, fine, go for it. No, I think that's something, if you want to do a list of things that maybe we should have clarity on, I think that should be in, if they say, well, it's radon and we're just going to cut out a 4-foot slice out of the roof.
Right.
I think we need to know about that. I mean, as the commission.
Cut the eve of the radon pipe.
What's that?
Cut the eve of the radon pipe.
Well, so this almost is like a standard kind of thing, like most radon mitigation systems, I'm already generalizing, but like there's a lot that many of them have in common. They're exactly the same in a lot of the same ways. They gotta get air from here to there, they gotta run a duct outside your house. So it's all, I feel there's some standardness there almost to the point where we could almost even lay out some specifics as to what should or should not happen with one of those, if that's helpful to have when you're reviewing an application. But like, we talk about as minimally invasive as possible, but there are all kinds of creative ways to become invasive without even having considered it. Like, oh, I hadn't thought of that way to mess this up, or whatever. There's no end to that kind of thing, people's creativity with that. I've seen butcher jobs with these sort of systems, and I've seen some that are really, really kind of slick the way they've put them in there. Most of the time, they stand out instead of blend, but, location, we already know, there's a lot of those kinds of things, but I would say that of any, again, we're saying a lot of the same things, but of any of the things that are on here, that would be the one I would be, like, if there's any thought at all, that it might be something to consider, then just knock it our way. Sometimes even the application doesn't tell you exactly how it's gonna look. Like, you can have a detailed application, but you still may not know exactly how the thing's gonna turn out in the end. And maybe that's what we need to see, is an application that actually shows you enough of the detail. But that sort of goes under the heading of, is the application complete? talked about that before too. And if you're not seeing complete applications, you know what to do with those too, so. And again, I want to keep this as efficient as possible. I don't want to just grab applications because we really are looking for something to spend our time on here on Tuesday night. We're not. At least I'm not. If they can be handled administratively, I'm all about it. And as far as clarifying or getting that language more clear, I think what might be helpful is if you, as you come across things, to come with specific kind of notes for us to sort of debate, because in previous discussions that we've had, they've been really super general. So I don't know that we ever really gave Ellen anything bite into.
You mentioned that our list is, or IPSI's list is somewhat more general than others. If you had some other examples, if you came in and said, this is what Adrian does, whoever, and here's why, we could say, great.
Yeah, and
I'm a
actually,
big fan of not starting from scratch.
yeah, agreed, totally. And thankfully, I think it was, I don't know if it was Ellen or Scott, but someone before me started compiling examples. And so, and Ellen actually sent over some more once she started with Detroit. They have a very exhaustive, probably more exhaustive than we would need, list of, when something does not need to go to the commission.
Right.
But also, maybe not as exhaustive, but something more specific can definitely help streamline meetings and make it clear. I've had feedback from 3 different residents in the last month that it's very confusing for them to understand what work needs or needs to not be approved. And I think that kind of compound, like I know that's different than admin versus commission approval, but I think there's a confusion in general that could be clarified around what does need approval in general. And then, the ordinance talks about maintenance or interior work and when that does not need or does need to be approved. But perhaps this is just a staffing of communication of making that list and having the commission look at it and make sure that is a good interpretation of what things do need to go before the commission. Because when I do provide that language, it's still very confusing. What is maintenance? So there's a couple different levels I'm looking at and trying to take notes, like specific instances where there was a question.
Yeah, the specifics are good. I think if you could come up with something like that, like if you're getting, like you said, you're getting feedback from some applicants about something, like, yeah, a specific thing to drill in on, maybe that would help.
I can say like one example that I noticed for roof approvals is when an application is straightforward, tear off, re-roof, like for like, but they also want to do work on one, like gutters or fascia, which at this point would need, I think at least in the pre-draft letter, that would need commission's approval if there's additional items being added to the re-roof project. So there are things like that that are a little unclear. In the past, some have been admin, in the past, some have gone to the commission, and it's not quite clear where that line is. If the work is like for like materials, I think if it's not, then that's a clear commission item. So those are some of the things.
Well, its lack of clarity is job security for you.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, that's why you're not a machine.
Yeah.
So you have to look at it, and that's just the way it is. It's not, you're not gonna write your way out of it.
Right.
Yeah, I think some applications, like on the surface, like, I wonder why this one was administrative approved, why this one went to the commission. I feel like in those cases, maybe, or just aren't enough details preserved in in the application there, if you didn't know that.
Right.
It could be something simple like, well, it was a small repair of this other thing in addition to the roof. It's like, well, it's a repair, so now we're under that category of repairing something. It's like, yeah, there was, 10 feet of fascia here, which was all messed up, we'll put the same stuff back. It's like, repair, so maybe that's why it all seemed to end up under that one.
Yeah.
One heading, but maybe it just wasn't really clearly written out in the information that was there. But, well, either way, I guess if specific examples should come up, you can pull those together, or even email them to the group as they come up, and then you can compile them for meeting, but at least then you've gotten it off, and you've got it out there in the world,
Yeah.
and then we can then think about it and stuff like that.
I'd like to bring it up in an organized manner when I do, but yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely, I will start compiling that list and try to get that to you all.
Okay. Yeah, we can discuss whenever the appropriate material, review. All right, is there any further comments on any of the administrative reports?
No.
No. We got other business, property monitoring, I guess is first up. Does any of you had a bunch of added content here, is that still under property monitoring, or is that under different?
It's different.
Is that
Staff
under
updates.
Okay. Did you have anything under property monitoring to share this time?
Yeah, I met with the building manager yesterday, and we had a long conversation. They're actually going to be,
What building manager?
building department manager.
Oh, okay.
That's a important clarification. So Jerry, I met with him yesterday, and we talked about different cases that we both have within the district, and because I'm not sworn in yet, he followed up on 18 North Washington, moving forward with those next steps. And so he sent them another citation yesterday, and that's the replacement of the windows at 18 North Washington. That's been going on for about 4 years now. So there are several properties that I've noted, and that have been passed on to me, that actually the building department, code enforcement, they're going to be looking at more maintenance adjacent issues, like blight concerns. And so they're gonna be, we decided they would be the first line of action going out and enforcing. And then, of course, any work being done needs to be routed to the HGC for approval. So if there are issues with those, there's like a list of, I believe, 15 on my own list that they'll be following up on. But if there are issues, then HGC will start enforcing too. At that point, I should be sworn in. I did go to the Riverside Park side of, to see 130 North Huron property, because there were blocks noticed.
Oh, the landscaping blocks, whatever.
I didn't see any, so I did see the blocks. It's actually really hard to see. It's kind of towards the north of the property, and they're stacked very high. I can't tell if they're just very neatly stacked or if they're supposed to be a wall. They aren't fully, you can tell they're not fully installed. There's like a couple stacks on top. So it's really not clear from the park side what is happening there. None of the, like, there are a couple of retaining walls there that have ivy on them and stuff. And,
Yeah, there's a lot of ivy going on there.
yeah, I don't know if anyone had a chance to get a good look at.
I didn't jump the
Okay.
fence, but yeah, it looked like it were probably replacement of the retaining wall that failed and
Yeah.
would have approved if they come to us.
So you, from what you saw, you think that was an actual installation and not just a stack? Okay.
Yeah, because they have.
Yeah, I have a photo. It's just like, it's,
So is it possible in the name of time and efficiency to, and it doesn't have to be for like next meeting, but to produce a spreadsheet that has the properties that we as the HDC are quote monitoring. And prior to the meeting, to get that spreadsheet, to have some little updated notation as to, where things stand for the month, so that we're not remembering which properties and we're not convincing about reminding ourselves what's going on. And it can just be like really quick, because many times it's like nothing's changed, status quo, or
Yes,
building departments, got their teeth in them, or whatever the proper thing is. And then it would make, this discussion just very easy.
yes.
I would like to think.
I do have that in the
I thought you might.
works. So this is, I don't know if you can see, that's for applications, all the status.
Sure.
I know that can seem redundant, but I can't do any of this in BSNA online, just a quick glance at everything, like I need to see. So I have that for applications, and I'm working on that for enforcement. Hold on.
Okay.
So
Well, let's see.
I moved everything over right now. I don't have all
I
the
don't expect you
statuses.
to have a presentation on it right now either. I just had this.
Yeah, I
Right.
think that's great.
I think it would help us to have a standard sheet
Sure.
in our packet that just said, and then if we want to add some that you don't have on there, then we can talk about those.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think I can do like a chart and then status.
Great.
Yeah, because there may be nothing to discuss on many of them, or most of them, or all of them. Yeah. But at least we would know, is that just touch base on them, just to know where, if anything's changed or whatever. Then we can add all the ones that we need to add to it. So, so I guess of the ones that you've got, is there anything in particular that stands out to be discussed here tonight with us necessarily, or?
The other, elephant in the room there is 18 West Michigan, which is Hobbs. And I
Right.
am in close communication with the building department about that. The owner, legally, they cannot get in there and do anything until the tenant vacates the building. The court said they can be in there until the 15th of this month. And so we're still waiting on, they have not submitted any plans to be reviewed for work on the structure yet. Part of that is because of their limitations with the building and what the tenant is.
Because I can't get in there yet.
It's a very, so, but Jerry said that the engineer was able to get in there and they're expecting, he heard this Friday, they're expecting the report to be submitted this week.
Who's engineer?
Beal, the property owner.
Okay. Any other properties that need our attention or we should be aware of anything going on?
Nothing,
Okay.
I mean, nothing to note right now.
Are there any property monitoring related issues commissioners felt to bring? No.
No,
No. Okay, we can then move into, the staff updates. There's a bunch of stuff there, it looks like.
Yeah, I'll try to be quick, just, pull up. I think I emailed you the update about the pen dam removal, the change to the draft.
Yeah, we had saw something about that in advance of our meeting.
Okay. So they did change the determination to
Yeah.
the resources being eligible, and so that, application is now submitted to SHPO and they're reviewing it. So that's where we're at now. And then SHPO will have final say and comments and
And is there a sense of turnaround time on that, or?
typically 30 to 40 days. I know that SHPO is overwhelmed, so I am anticipating
Okay.
potentially even longer turnaround times.
Couple months, sounds like, right?
Yeah. Just an update on 90 Maple. I have not heard anything other than I confirmed receipt with the owner and owners council. They, received the letter about the determination. And I included a calendar meeting so that they're aware of the timeline that needs to happen in order for approval and work to be completed. And they will need to be able to complete the work by November 1st, they gotta turn in an application by next meeting. So until they don't, we will know for sure if they don't turn in an application after the deadline.
I don't see them getting anything done in 2 weeks.
Right, it would be a very, very, very tight, they also have to get all the other permit applications. And I know they've not been in communication with the other departments.
So, you might have more to say about it, but I don't sort of put this out there now. This, similar to, I guess, I want to be able to track this better for our meetings. In other cases where we have applications that have extended over the course of multiple meetings, you've done a thing where there's sort of like a history, a sort of timeline there of what's happened, previous meetings, important decisions, et cetera, and then you just add on like the next most recent thing, or like if there were updates in between meetings that were particularly critical, sort of put on there. I'd like to have something like that for this property until this issue is resolved. So 10 years, whatever it takes. Just so that we can, I mean, this issue has escalated to it's a whole different lane.
Yeah.
And we as HGC have a much bigger role to play. And I don't want too much to be happening on autopilot without our involvement. Autopilot / building department or whatever, or not happening. We've created at least the outline of the schedule, but we have the right to create so much more for them, and we will need to do that. And so having just the core data available at all times, I think, in every single meeting and every single packet, I think is absolutely mandatory. So, and I think even there was an application, or rather, I don't know, a couple weeks back where there was a lot of history, because it was an application. I know we don't actually have an application now, but if you could just grab all that stuff and sort of insert it to whatever section of the agenda is appropriate, whether it's under staff updates or whatever, I don't particularly care actually, but as long as it's there somewhere.
Sounds good.
Sure. Well, anyway, back to, if you had anything else to say on that, or move on to the next update or whatever.
Nothing else for Maple. These are just, for the resurvey, I included some quick summary results for all of you if you're interested. And the full survey report and all of the identification forms are now available on the Historic District webpage for the public.
So the survey results are very interesting. They would be dramatically more interesting to me if I knew what the results were from the last one.
I was gonna say the
Whether
same
they
thing.
went up or went down.
Yeah, that would. I don't, that's a really good point. I can get that for the next meeting.
Yeah, to include that alongside these stats, I agree. It would be super helpful, I think.
It probably doesn't spell it out the same way, but I'm sure that's included in the survey report, the overall count of contributing, not contributing, so,
And lost structures too.
yeah.
Which ones are gone? Gone.
Well, that's going to be inferred by the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I have to interpret them.
Depends on how they log the information.
But cool that it's out there.
I also want to comment too, John noticed something on his identification form with his property where there was a typo, or
We just
arguably
misidentified
mistake.
the alignment of the house.
It was an
It's-
elevation,
Hers was correct, theirs was incorrect. It's trivial, but it's literally a 90-degree error. And it would be confusing. But her point is, what do we do when we find those out? Now,
I did get an answer.
okay, and what's the answer?
I heard back from the consultants today, what they do in these situations, and I do still have to check with SHPO what they want me to do with it after the fact, but the survey deliverables are ours, the cities. We own them. We have both the Word doc and the PDF. So if there's a mistake, we can definitely go in and change that. We wouldn't go in and expound upon the narrative or whatever if we find out more information, but if there's a mistake, we can definitely fix that and keep the original copy, but also the updated one and make that available. So we can fix it, and I will fix yours.
And was that the only one? Did you check any other?
Well, we
houses
know
on the
that, I've not gone through all of them.
street?
I've
I
gone through
can look,
several, like,
actually. If they're on the website, I can do that.
I anticipate I will get a lot of feedback with the mailings going out. And I kind of hope I do, so that we can fix some of that stuff. Hopefully there's not that much. I really hope it's just both of yours. But it's good, we can fix that, so as it comes up, I'll definitely make sure and correct those.
You know, could have been just it was a cloudy day and couldn't see where the sun was going down and took a guess.
Or they stopped at the dispensary. No, just kidding. Just brain fart. It happens.
Okay, moving along then. You mentioned here to be utilizing those in the packets, I noticed.
Yes.
That's cool. Some good info to have in there.
Yes, and then, this is just a quick update on what I was doing with the spreadsheets, trying to have a way to track, get timed reminders for where applications are at, so that I have a better workflow and something external, in one place that I can look at enforcement, look at applications, see progress, and hopefully be able to convey that all to you.
I'm encouraged about the, pursuing the ability to confirm what was submitted in HDC application, like in detail, like was that what was executed or not? Or was something else executed, was that, so that sounds like a big thing to tackle, it sounds like there's progress here.
Yes, I'm hoping to walk through each street of the district twice a year, so that with a roughly 6-month timeframe, so that we can catch it won't be perfect.
Right.
But that I can catch the progress on applications, and obviously I'll still go out as needed for specific applications, but just to have a little bit more regular walk through at the beginning and end of construction season.
Right, okay.
And if you have any recommendations for things that I should be tracking, I'm happy to add that. And then my last note is that the planning department and community services department were changing our minutes to be action minutes, which is what is mandated. But because we're doing that, we're also going to be uploading all of the recordings of meetings to YouTube so that they can be accessed for any details that need clarification.
Yeah, so I saw that, and I noticed that you did that for last meeting, I guess, right?
Yes,
The
yes.
minutes look like that, yeah. So I have some thoughts and concerns. And maybe they'll just go away on their own, but I have to think it through. But I guess the first thing I thought was, the question is, well, how will this impact our ability to go back and review details behind a decision? And I'm like, does that mean we're gonna start watching YouTube videos to try to figure this out? It's easy to do text searches sometimes. I haven't had to do it very often. You've probably had to do it more often than we have, where you go back and like look at the history of a particular application, or how would you do searches for like, I don't even know how you do them now, but I think there was one time you did searches back for other applications, maybe you're checking a different system. For certain types of applications, you're like, Or even with the roofs, the metal roofs, did you do a search to see what are the metal roof applications we had, or what did you do for that search?
I went through, the city has decision letter files, and so I went back through, and there's just a brief description of the work. And that's also something that's not perfect and has changed between staff, but I'm trying to put the specific details, like with this decision letter, for example, I will put a metal roof so that it's searchable. And staff before me also did that. So there might have been some other metal roofs that I was not able to search. It also depends on how it's described in the packets. I searched the packets. But they're so big and there's so many of them, it's really not a practical search. It will just crash my computer. So the best thing is to have a detailed description in the decision letter file for staff. But on your end, is that what you're wondering?
Yeah, I haven't had to do it very often. And I usually only do it for like I would only go back a couple of meetings but typically I'm like, yeah, it was either this meeting or that meeting, and I would go do a search. I'm like, oh yeah, there's the summary of the conversation. Important points or something like that. Or like, oh, that's what James said that. I mean, I don't know how I would do that going forward, I guess.
Yes, and this is something we talked about a lot, and ultimately the opportunity cost we were looking at was staff's time doing minutes, which usually is a couple days, versus what could be done with the time. And so it was a departmental decision. However, I think there are definitely improvements on things we could do to make sure that everything is searchable. And I'm more than happy to provide, if you're looking for specific documentation, you could email me and I can always send that your way. But I think one thing we could definitely do on the YouTube videos is have like a timestamp for each application, and you can like label, sometimes you can see who's talking, sometimes you can't. So I could put a timestamp that in the description you can see what applications being reviewed.
Yeah, so to index the videos in some way.
But then it would be on YouTube and not all in one clean spot. This would kind of be the beginning point of where to find.
But it would also, I guess, I've never looked for city meeting. I have city council couple meetings a couple times, but I have no idea. I have no idea how to really find them. I guess it'd be helpful if links to them are available in the packets and stuff like that.
Yes.
Is that part of the plan? What's the plan for that, I guess?
You know what? I know that I can do this going forward. So I'm gonna have it on the website where to find like a link to the YouTube channel, and then you can search, you can pull up any meeting based on the description.
It's the city's channel that takes you to it.
Yeah, and the most recent videos will be first. So, but I know the planning commission includes in their minutes, they'll have a link at the bottom of all of their minutes where to see the full recording, and I plan on implementing that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
The ability to search meetings, or search videos is getting better too. Ways to go on that.
I think that's all staff updates I have.
I think that's all I see. Oh, that's all I see here at least. Commissioner comments, feedback on any of those things? Okay. Included maps in the district, those are the new. Those are on the website too then, those historic district outlines and stuff like that?
So they are not yet.
Okay.
And part of that is because this is one of the things that could potentially change with the districts. With the district, and is one of the consultant's recommendations is clarifying boundaries. So I have not gone through the entire border and looked to see if there are any potential issues with us uploading something and then someone saying, hey, our house is not actually in the, you know. I want to make sure that everything, all the resources are still included and there wouldn't be any weird areas. And then I want to make sure, if there are, I want to have our attorney look at them before I just upload this.
Okay.
Because I could see it potentially, like, for example, there's some properties where it cuts through, like, it's unclear where the line actually is.
Yeah, I feel like the line was always like that, even on the one that's on the website, kind of like,
It's going through the backyard.
Yeah, so I wanted to take a good
Okay.
look at it before I update that map. I think it's much better than our current map, but I still want to make sure there are no issues.
okay.
What is really helpful is the second one, which shows contributing, non-contributing
Yeah.
resources.
Yeah,
And that's been very helpful.
that's a new one.
Mhm.
Just so you know, the perimeter is 4 miles.
The perimeter is 4 miles exactly.
You walking through everybody's
Did it-
backyard or what?
No, I mean, if you go on the sidewalks,
Oh, okay.
on the same side as the. I think it's 4.
Okay. Oh, okay. Commissioner comments? Do commissioners have anything else they gotta get out?
5.9 kilometers,
All right.
starting on Forest Street, whatever that is. So close to 4 miles.
All right, let's flip over then to public comment. Is there any public left?
There's no.
That's not to say that we're not a public meeting, but we're just not. We've got some draft minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Motion carries. We bumped in the end of the agenda. There's nothing left there to discuss. So I'm just gonna say, I hereby call for the adjourn. I'll move that way. I'll say it. I'll whatever.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.